I've purchased well over 50 machines over the years. Current collection is 19 right now, with a few in the workshop. And this is kind of my forever collection. You would have a real hard time convincing me to sell any of these games now. They're kind of here to stay, or as we say, bolted to the floor. Now you're in my pinball workshop. So I built this about 8 years ago with the sole purpose of just restoring and repairing games for myself. And I quickly realized that it's too small. At one time have had 8 or 9 games in this small little room. And it's very difficult to work, but right now it's down a little bit. Yeah, and Twister, it was a nice project. It booted and played when I got it, which is awesome. That saved me a lot of the troubleshooting, knowing that it played. But it was dirty and lots of broken plastics, so everything's been stripped off. It's starting to go back together now. There's a lot of parts that are unobtainable, and in the hobby we call it unobtainium. Now thankfully there are a lot of people that are taking on these projects and reproducing parts that were unobtainium. And so parts like the ramp for Twister was this holy grail of ramps. You could not find it anywhere. Something like this here is what an old ramp would look like. Now I was fortunate that this one actually isn't cracked up, but you know, it's ground with dirt. And just the other day I picked up my brand new Twister ramp. Now I've taken all the parts that were on that ramp before, so you can just see how beautiful that's going to look. It's absolutely crystal clear. It'll end up going in this position right here. And something else I've done with this game is the wire forms where the ball, they call them habit trails. They were really rusted and pitted. So I took them to a place just local to me to have them powder coated. This one in here. And then this one right there. I do like to restore the cabinets. Now, being a carpenter by trade, a woodworker, I enjoy that part a lot. Unfortunately, the decal process is quite labor intensive. So I don't have a lot of the time to do a full cabinet restoration unless it's a game that absolutely deserves it. Now this one here, Twister, there are some nicks and scratches, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in between 2 games and not really be concerned about it. But then I do have in my collection the Addams Family and Whitewater, both very valuable games and also very valuable to me. They're going to get full new decals. Yeah, this game here I've invested about $2,500 into for the repair. That's purchasing all the mechanical parts, the art blades. Actually, that's something I'll show you here. And you can see how boring it is right now. This is just black paint. Well, this really makes this world under glass pop when you install something like that on there. So it almost makes it never ending. So those will go on here. And I mean, you'd be surprised at how much cleaning and rubber kit changes the look of a game too. Having a family and a pinball obsession, it can be difficult, unless you can get your family involved. So I'm fortunate that my wife and daughters really enjoy this, and my daughters especially. My daughters are becoming quite great pinball players, and it just warms my heart when I get home and I hear the machines on. I'm not even around and they're playing these games. So I'll pick up a new game and they're just as excited as I am. So it makes it really easy for me to sell them on picking up a new game, as long as I'm not selling one of the ones we already have. So this one here is Bally's Dr. Dude. It holds a special place in my heart, as it was the first game that my wife actually said, we should find that game and buy that game. This is a very hard one to find, but I was fortunate enough to have a close friend that located one about a 4-hour drive from us. So this one is very special to both my wife and I, as we played it in Las Vegas, and we remember that day at the Pinball Hall of Fame playing Dr. Dude. Diner came out of Campbellton, New Brunswick, and we all love this theme. Everybody can relate to that 50s diner theme. So for this one, it's a Mark Ritchie title, which he's very famous for the crisscross ramps, where you shoot here and it crosses across. So it's got a really neat feel to it. But the theme on this one is just fantastic, with the checkers and everything. And then also these are neat too, because they're kind of, as you're playing, they're wiggling and shaking around on the back box. So we really like that. Usually for me, it is not so much about the theme as it is about the nostalgia and a special place in my heart. But there's a game that we have in the collection called World Poker Tour that, sure, I enjoy poker, but I wasn't a big fan of the TV show. But the game is just like butter. It plays so smooth that it's never going to leave our basement. We just enjoy it, and my children love it, and my wife enjoys it, and my kids wouldn't have had a clue what poker was before owning this game. Now, it's designed by Steve Ritchie, which is a legendary designer, so you knew it was going to be pretty good, but just the amount of fun and modes and everything in that game are just unreal. And it's kind of one of those games that's forgotten about. People don't have it on their wish list, really. It's you can usually get it at a relatively cheaper price, and once they get it, they're like, where was this thing all my life? This is fantastic. Artwork sometimes would be a little bit to be desired. Everybody jokes about the world's longest hand right here. If you look at where his wrist is versus where his fingers are, we always find that quite humorous. But lots of action, lots of modes, and it's just a beautiful example. Again, I did art blades on this one, and there were 2 options for the art blades. There was one that was very colorful, but I find this game to be very colorful as is. So I went with just this black and white option, and I really feel it just added a lot to that game. Some particular trade skills that you'd want to be thinking about as a budget-minded collector would be some woodworking skills, just enough to get you by with patching up cabinets and repairing some cabinets. Also some knowledge of electricity and electronics. There's some dangerous voltage in these games, so you have to know what you're getting into. If you're just probing around and poking at stuff to try and troubleshoot, you could get yourself seriously hurt. The best way to learn maintenance or repair would be to talk to other hobbyists with experience. Don't be afraid to ask questions. They were new to the game at one time too, and they asked all their friends and anybody they could talk to about it. And everybody's so open in this hobby to share. There's no secrets, it seems like. Everybody's willing to share their trade tricks. And yeah, just don't be afraid to ask. And Williams Taxi, it's another Mark Ritchie game, so the same designer as Diner. And you can see the similarities. There's your crossover ramps here. This one belonged to a student of mine, actually. His auntie had it in their garage for years, and it had been sitting unused. And so I was teaching the class, and he had kind of brought up the fact that his auntie has a pinball machine. Would I be interested in it? And I said, absolutely. Taxi is an amazing game, an amazing theme. And this one is the Marilyn Monroe edition. There's rumors that there were less of them made due to legal issues, but that's kind of been proven that the Lola version with brown hair on Marilyn Monroe some say that actually there's less of those ones made. I've organized my collection mostly by designer or something that fits that I already have on the wall. I've got the Getaway, and next to it I've got a traffic light mounted. Well, that traffic light was mounted before I purchased Getaway, so it just seemed correct to put it in that position. Williams The Getaway, another Steve Ritchie design. It's a sequel to High Speed, very successful game. I enjoy this one more than High Speed, although High Speed is a game that is on my wish list. I would love to have one to go side by side with this one. A fantastic game with the supercharger ramp. If you've ever played Getaway, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It loops around at lightning speed up there. Simple game to understand the rules. You basically just need to achieve all these goals right here, and then get those multi-balls, and eventually get red line mania, which is kind of like a mini wizard mode where you'd end up shooting the supercharger and you get multi-ball and everything's lit and it's super exciting. So this is probably my most heavily modded game. I've got a lot of stuff on here that was done on a good friend of mine, his 3D printer. So something like the Donut Heaven, this is not how it came from factory. This traffic light here, not from factory. The mountain mod, all that stuff is all modified. This has got art blades on the side here as well. So it looks a little bit different. I try and keep most of my games looking factory original, but my Getaway I definitely have modded out, and I feel that these mods are very tasteful. I would describe my collection as well-rounded family fun. I like the games like Fishtales and Getaway that anybody can step up to and understand how to play them, but I also like a deeper game as well, such as Dracula. Twilight Zone is very deep. Twilight Zone was probably the game that I felt the most emotion in the buying process. I had lost out on about 2 to 4 deals, 2 really close deals that I thought were actually going to go through. And so I really hunted high and low to get this one, and it actually consumed me to try and find a Twilight Zone. I love everything about the game. I watched the show growing up. Absolutely love this. This is the game that if everything had to go, it'd be this one, and Fishtales would be the last to go. My first time playing pinball would have been at a Holiday Inn down in the southern states on a family vacation. I was playing video games with my brother, and my dad stepped up to a pinball machine, and I remember saying that, what's the interest here? I mean, there's video screens with guys you can move and jump and shoot, and why would you want to play these clunky old things? And he asked, you want to give it a try? And I tried it, and I knew this was something special. As a collector, it's always the nostalgia for me. It's always bringing me back. So this game right here, Fishtales, it was the one that I first got Grand Champion on. So when I started getting into this hobby and looking for a game, it had to be this one. Yeah, I fell in love with pinball after hearing that knocker go off for getting a high score, but then getting Grand Champion with my friend Ben in a little arcade in Selkirk. I knew I was in love, I knew I was hooked. And the funny thing is, my friend was a far better player than me, but this game in particular, Fishtales, I was better than him. So when I started looking for a game to purchase, I knew that this had to be the one just so I could beat him on something. With Fishtales, what draws me in is the feeling of being brought back to my 16th, 17th year, where nothing has changed. The music is the same, the art is the same, so it's really like traveling in time. Williams' Earthshaker, this is a Pat Lawler title. This one, the funny story, I was actually getting a cavity filled when I saw this game pop up on my phone for sale. And it was about a 45-minute drive and very reasonably priced, needed a lot of work, but I actually asked the dentist to just take a little break and can I make this deal? And my dentist said no problem, and I made the deal, had them remove the ad, and there I was on my way off to Steinbach, Manitoba to buy this game. In about minus 35 degrees, we loaded this thing up and then I brought it home and restored it. Very proud of this one. not a lot of Earthshakers around these areas, so I'm very happy to have this one. Williams Whirlwind. This is another Pat Lawler title. Traveled out to Calgary, Alberta for this one, and I really wanted the trifecta, what I feel are Pat Lawler's 3 amazing alphanumeric games, and that would be Earthshaker, Whirlwind, and then Funhouse is next in the line. Williams Funhouse, Pat Lawler design, traveled to Calgary for this one, and it has been completely restored. I didn't have to do anything to this game besides a couple of stuck switches, but I actually purchased this one. It already has a brand new playfield, new ramps, everything was cleaned and polished when I got it, so it was nice to actually get a game that was done, but I also kind of missed the fact that I didn't get to restore it. But they did a fabulous job of the restoration. They even did new cabinet decals on it and everything, so it's done and ready to play. With setting up a game room, what you'd want to do is make sure you have sufficient power outlets. You'd also want to make sure that you have some sort of surge protection if you're outfitting your game room with solid state electronic games. The circuit boards can be very easily damaged by lightning or surges. So in my game room, I've gone split plugs, multiple circuits, all surge protected, and then the entire home has a whole home surge protection. I learned that the hard way. We had a lightning strike close to us, and I lost a couple games. I had to go for repairs because the boards got damaged in the lightning. The games that have gotten away from me, I've usually found a way to find them and end up purchasing them. My wife knows all about it. I obsess about a game. If there's one that I need to own, within a few months, it will be in our basement. And that is just hard work, putting the word out there, researching for hours to find that title. Out in my workshop, that game Twister, I mean, it happened quicker than I thought, but it took a lot of work to find a game that somebody was willing to sell. There's not a lot of them out there. But yeah, it's hard work finding those games. And honestly, that is a lot of the fun for me is the hunt, is to source out that title and then actually land the deal, get it in the collection. Awesome, lots of fun. But now on to the next hunt. Johnny Mnemonic. I purchased this game as part of a package. I really wanted Bram Stoker's Dracula, and when I was driving out there to pick it up, the seller had kind of convinced me, you know, like I could use some extra cash. He wanted to get some new tattoos done. So he said, would you like to buy Johnny Mnemonic as well? I said, I guess so. I could always bring it back and sell it locally, you know, make my money back, because the movie, in my opinion, is terrible. Well, I got this game down here, and as much as I love Dracula, I play this one more. I really enjoy it. This is probably the fastest game in pinball. That ball is cruising at lightning speeds on this game, so it is very enjoyable, and even the theme works. As much as I dislike the movie, the theme works, and it's a lot of fun. Bram Stoker's Dracula. This game came from Regina. I traveled out there. This is the game that I purchased when I got Johnny Mnemonic in that package deal. It was another one that I hunted pretty hard to find, and was fortunate enough to locate this one only a 6-hour drive away. Another great road trip with my dad. So we drove out there in a day, the old burn and turn, came back with Dracula and Johnny Mnemonic. And I still feel that that is the greatest call in pinball, is when he yells 30 million. My children have grown up with pinball in their lives. I was developing this basement as we were ready to have our first daughter, Jillian. I was drywalling and taping when my wife went into labor. So we had the machines in another room and developed the basement and then moved them in here, and there's pictures of our daughters as old as a month old, sitting on the games and posing with me in the games. So it's surrounded them. They actually, it's funny, they will go over to their friends' homes back when they were younger and kind of say, where are your pinball machines? Because they are just so used to having a basement full of them. Williams Whitewater. This would be probably my wife's favorite game. This is the one that she's always going to play first. What's great about this one is there's so many ramps and loops that any skill level of player can step up to Whitewater and shoot something and be rewarded for it. So you don't need to understand these deep rules to play Whitewater. You can still flip those flippers, hit ramps, because even if you're aiming at this ramp, you're gonna probably get that one. So you're always seeing action with Whitewater. This game came another local find. It was a friend of mine. It was not restored, but at least it booted and played. But it got a full treatment on the top side, completely stripped down, all new ramps. And it's definitely a keeper. Can't ever let my Whitewater go. With my daughters in pinball, it's given them something to connect with me. And it's something that we all enjoy spending time together. So it is our thing. We play pinball together. We know that at any time we can come turn these things on. And it's really special for us to get to come down and just play as a family at any time. Valley's The Shadow. This game I played quite a bit when I was around 16 or 17 years old, but it wasn't a game that I absolutely needed to own or add to the collection. Until I played my friend Jeff. He bought a Shadow and then fully restored it with a new playfield and everything, and I played that thing and it just was like amazing. And then at that point I'm like, I need to add one of these to my collection. So I sourced this one out of Ontario and had it shipped in. And this is another game that I really haven't done anything to. It came fully LED lights, cleaned, rubbered, everything was done to it. So this is how it arrived. The girls gravitate to their monthly favorite. They get one that they understand the rules for, and then they just totally go to that game all the time. So right now, Jillian is really into The Shadow, and she plays that one constantly, and Amy's into Doctor Who, which is a more recent addition to the game room within the last 4 or 5 months. So when the games are getting turned on, I know right away that those are the 2 games that are getting played first.
No. It's okay, that's a little
You are boring me.
All right, let's do this. Yeah! Watch it.
Yes! I need 1 billion. Oh boy. There's so many. Okay, there's one. No. Oh, yes! This is the highest score I've ever gotten! Yes! Oh my gosh! This is like the best day ever! Still going strong.
All right, enter that score. Enter the initial.
Congratulations.
This is officially my game.
And it's for sale.
So if you're new to the hobby and you're looking for a game, maybe just one or two for your basement, really give it some thought and find a game that you remember. Something that you know is going to be fun, something that maybe you played in the past. And if you've never played pinball before, get out there and play them first.